Hello, hey everybody, what's up, This is my second time trying to record this, so we'll see if my phone just shuts off randomly again. Hi, please excuse all of this. I just got woken up and came straight out of bed because it was obvious that I was not going to be doing anything else today until I recorded this video. This may actually be for somebody too, if you're somebody who's been feeling really called to share your voice, share your perspective, speak your truth, speak out into the world what it is that you're seeing, you're perceiving, what dots you're connecting. Chances are we need your voice, and it's not going to leave you alone until you actually act on it. Because it's something that you're meant to do in this world. That's a message for somebody. There's something that you're meant to be doing and sharing with this world, and if it's not time to keep it in anymore. It doesn't matter if doesn't matter how disgusting some of the shit is that we're seeing show up in our reality at the moment. It was 1:11 when I said that on the timer. We have to show up. It doesn't matter what we're trying to process in the depth. The stuff we're trying to process through at the moment, we have to show up now. It doesn't matter how disconnected from ourselves we might feel at the moment. We have to show up, and we have to show up now. So here I am. This is what leadership looks like now, people. Sorry, not sorry. This is what leadership looks like now. It's raw, it's unfiltered, it's unadulterated. Love, just pure love. That's leadership now. Get used to it. Sorry. Okay, so there's a lot here that is coming through me that I thought was just for me, because it feels a little bit like too much. Like, not a lot of people are gonna want to know this information, but it has not left me alone. So even though I was trying real hard to like get all my I's dotted and my T's crossed and make sure everything was perfect so that I could launch my YouTube channel with good quality channel messages and things like that, Spirit has made it quite obvious to me that nope, this raw and unadulterated shit, this is what needs to happen. So the full video is going to be on my YouTube, and I'm going to post it on social media too, just as much as Instagram will let me post it the first 10 minutes, so that way y'all can see it and it can get to the right people. But the link will be in my bio to my YouTube if you want to watch the full thing, because trust me, I have some good shit in here. Okay, so we're going to start off strong. We're going to start off with the difference between source and God. And we're going to talk a little bit about your highest self in there too. But so semantics, right? Everybody uses their own terminology. So if what I'm saying, what I'm speaking doesn't really resonate with you, or if there's different terminology that you would apply to it, that is awesome. That is a-okay. That is beautiful. There's billions of different people in this world, which means there are billions of paths to enlightenment, and we do our best as human beings to pick the right words and to pick the right inflection of our letters and our wording and our tone of voice and our phrases and stuff. Like, we do our best to pick the right words to describe the things that we're experiencing. But come on, people, come on, show some grace. Not everybody's going to use the same word as you, but you get the meaning. The meaning is still the same, okay? So I'm going to do my best to try to describe some things that have been a bit confusing for me and the world over time. So one of the biggest things that we need to make sure that we understand is that there is a difference between source and God. So a lot of people, I think, mush the two together, and when they talk about source, they talk about creator, they talk about God, or they talk about Holy Spirit, or they talk about the universe or the cosmos. They kind of all just mush it together as one thing, and that's okay if that's how you want to think about it. That's not a problem necessarily. It's just a little bit limited, and it might help you have faith and have belief and understand how the universe works if you are able to differentiate the two. Because everything is one. Obviously, everything cycles back up into one. So God is source, but source is not necessarily God. And so that might be an interesting distinction to know. So essentially, when you think about all that is, like the void of infinite possibility, right? So like the deep unknown, the dark, the black, the void, the nothingness, the infinite potential. Science calls it the Higgs field. It is in everything. It moves through everything. It is everything and it is nothing. It is matter and it is antimatter. It is the known and it is the unknown. It is the infinite potential. Some people refer to it as the void. Some people refer to it as source, the cosmos. So infinite potential, all that is and ever was and could ever be, what everything is made of, that is source, that is the universal, that is the cosmos. A lot of people shorten that word universal and they call it universe. When people are talking about universe, they're not necessarily talking about like the galaxy, the Milky Way, and the universe that we live in this the dimension and point in time, space, and they kind of are to an extent, but the traditional word, the word is rooted in the word universal. Okay, so what people mean when they say the cosmos, the universe, source, they're talking about the universal, all that is universal. Okay, all that is in everything. And so that is like a source, that is infinite potential. And so at a certain point in time, as source was expanding and growing, that is the nature of the universal, is to expand and to grow in all ways, in all directions, infinitely. At a certain point in time, the void grew in such a way that it had so much love for itself, because pure consciousness is love. And this is actually being proven now through physics, is the vibration of consciousness, the vibration of light, the vibration of things at their highest form are beginning to become recognized as vibrating at a similar frequency as love. And right, so we're starting to really understand this scientifically, but it's something that's been known in cultures all across the world for, I mean, we've had shamanism for over 150,000 years, right, people? So this is not a new concept. But basically, everything that exists in your reality is love, perceived or portrayed or projected out in front of you in a different form, at a different vibration, a different resonance. And so source, as the void was growing and expanding, it began to be self-aware and realize that I have so much love for what's happening in this process in myself and this growth and this expansion, that I actually created a consciousness, right? And obviously I'm oversimplifying this. I do not understand how consciousness was created yet, but there was no consciousness and then there was consciousness, right? The original consciousness, the I am, the one consciousness that we all roll up into. We are all individual fractals of this one consciousness. If you think about the flower of life and you're thinking about and you're looking at things extending from that the one point, like this is the original consciousness, right? So this is what people refer to as God. Okay, so a lot of times when people are talking about the creator or God or him, this is the masculine version of source. Okay, so source, nature in and of itself, is a feminine energy. It receives, it creates, it nurtures, it grows, it connects, and then it created consciousness, which is a masculine energy that actually goes out and is able to have desires based on what the void, source, sees is possible in infinite possibilities. The masculine energy, God, the creator, he is actually able to then go out and create and formulate desires, specific actual intents, strategic plans and actions and goals and executions, right? So we've got source, which is infinitely expanding because that is its nature. infinitely expanding in all areas, continuously, organically, just growing out in any direction without any sort of consciousness, without any sort of conscious effort, just growing and evolving naturally. This is like the flower that blooms in the crack in the concrete kind of a thing, right? Like it's just growing because it can. And now, because Source loves itself so fucking much, it created for itself the ability to actually improve with intent also. So now God, consciousness, the I am, is able to come in and start having plans and goals and strategies and executing. So now Source is growing and expanding organically, and it's growing and expanding intentionally, strategically. And this is where things like time come into place, right? Like, okay, let's create a lived reality experience, right? Okay, let's create angels. Okay, let's create humans, right? Like, the people think about the creator, they think about attributing, and it was 11:11 on the clock as I'm saying this. People think about a creator as creating life, right? Like this is what they're talking about. This is God that they're talking about. Okay, so God is a part of Source, but Source is not necessarily God. Source includes God, but Source includes all that is God and all that is not God. Source includes everything that did happen, is going to happen, could happen, might happen, will happen, partially happened, fully happened, regrettably happened late, happened early, happened like it happened the wrong way, happened the right way, happened perfectly. Like Source includes all of that, and Source includes what didn't happen, what never happened, what couldn't happen, what shouldn't happen, what probably didn't happen, what almost happened, what kind of happened, what did happen, what is happening, but also what isn't happening, right? Like Source includes all of that. And then God is like, let's create this one, and let's create this one, and let's create this one, right? Okay, so we've got Source and we've got God and we've got the highest self. So the highest self is like God once removed. Okay, so we've got Source loved itself so much that it birthed a consciousness, the I am, which we refer to as God. And then God began creating, okay, well, I want to execute these plans. I want to create players to play the game, right? So then if we're thinking about it from, like, I'm seeing the flower of life as I'm describing this, right? So Source creates the I am, and then from that we get these little individual fractals that come out, which is our highest self. Okay, so our highest self is actually God once removed. So a lot of times people say, so we're kind of like Source twice removed, if you want to think about it, because there is like God and then there's Source, but we're God once removed, okay? So we are an individual fractal of God. We can communicate with Source and God and other, high dimensional beings and such like that at the level of our highest self, because that is what we are. We are pure light, we are pure consciousness, we are pure essence, we are literally Source created the I am, which we call God, and then God was like, I'm gonna put myself into all these individual fractals, these infinite possibilities of souls that can express everything that I want to create, and everything that I want to create is being seen from Source. Source's vision is translating to me, and I am now executing Source's vision for Source. And so all of these highest selves are created from God, right? In order to then begin collaborating and co-creating the shared reality experience that we all call life. Okay, so that's part one. That's part one, and we're like 14:14 when I finished that statement up. Okay. So part one is Source, God, and the highest self. So part two, we're going to talk about dimension ranges and valuations. So I started mentioning, like, okay, we can, our highest self can communicate with God and Source, right? And other high dimensional beings. So other high dimensional beings include angels, ascended masters. We've got some of our ancestors might be there, some might not. we've got special divine experts, we've got spirit guides, right? I'm sure we've got other species that I'm not specifically mentioning that I might not be aware of at this point in time, but it's fine. So if we think about the different dimensional ranges, right? So we've got the 1D is like where our thoughts are in the 1D, one dimension. 2D is like our cellular structure, kind of like how things are all coming together, right? So we exist at the 1D, we exist at the 2D, but that's not all we are. We also exist at the 3D. So the 3D is like where our bodies are, our physical bodies here. 4D is time. So 4D is like how we move through time with our physical bodies and our cellular structure and our thoughts. And falling asleep. Okay, and then 3D, 4D, 5D. Okay, so you hear people talking about how we're moving into the 5th dimension, right? So we're not moving into the 5th dimension. We've already always existed at the 5th dimension. We actually exist at all dimensions. Our consciousness is becoming more aware of the 5th dimension, and I'll explain this here a little bit more. So then you've got the 5th and the 6th dimension, which is in a nutshell kind of, it's like the 5D is a different new way of experiencing life, kind of like the 3D, our body is experiencing life, and the 4D is our perspective of time, of like how we perceive that reality. So 5D is like a new experience, and the 6D is kind of like how we perceive that. And then you've got 7 and 8D, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're not going to go into the details of everything at this moment, but angels and like your highest self exist at that 12, like at the higher dimensions, 10, 11, 12 dimension, and things operate differently up there than they operate at the 5D, which is a little bit different than they operate at the 3D, which, as you can imagine, is a little bit different than things operate at the 1D or the 2D, right? Pretty self-explanatory there, but the biggest thing that I want to iterate is, even though, okay, how's the best way to say this? Angels exist. The concept of angels is different to everyone, okay? Some people picture angels and they picture like manly figures with wings and stuff, right? Like, that's fine. If that's what you want to picture, that's absolutely fine. Goddesses and deities and gods have different depictions and stuff, right? Other cultures have described angels as like a galactic presence, like an entire fleet, like what one person would think about when they think of Archangel Michael is like a figure of like a man that's glowing with wings, right? Like, and that's fine. Other cultures, when they think about Archangel Michael, actually think about an entire galactic fleet, like an army of individuals, like an entire cotillion of essences of, that come together to protect souls, to help guide souls, to be a force. And the Archangel Michael actually presents as a whole army, a whole force field around a person, place, thing, experience. And so however you perceive the angels, however you want to interact with the angels is fine. Again, there's 8 billion people in the souls on the earth right now, and that's just here on earth right now. We're not talking about all souls, so there's different ways to perceive different things. But those types of entities, those types of beings exist at what we call higher dimensions, okay? Earth humans right now are currently experiencing life at the 3rd dimension, 4th dimension. We're moving into the 5th dimension, 6th dimensional awareness. So we're considered operating at these lower level dimensions. So the one thing that I want to talk about here is not necessarily what happens in each dimension, but I want to talk about semantics, because when you are labeling things like 12th dimension, 5th dimension, 3rd dimension, like it's like, it feels like a ranking or like a ladder. It feels like it's a stepping stone, or it feels like it's a ranking, I guess was the best word. But it's not meant to be. It's more like a spiral. So it's not exactly like a circle, because the vibration does elevate as you go up, but it's more like a spiral. But it's like, okay, so the beings that operate at higher dimensions can move down into the lower dimensions whenever they like, and they can move back up. The way they present is going to be different in each dimension, because as you go into the lower level dimensions, matter is more densely perceived, versus higher dimensions, it is more light. It is less dense and more, there's more vibration, which means there's more oscillation, which means there's more space in between the particles and the movement, which means you see through it more, versus it being dense and physical and feeling like it's solid in 3D, okay? Just a little bit of quantum physics there, just a little bit. Okay, just okay, so physical beings like us are currently being perceived at like the 3D, 4D, 5D range. However, we exist in all dimensions at all times. We just have our consciousness hovering here in the 3D, 4D right now, which is why we perceive ourselves as solid. Our highest self, if you remember the first part of the video where I was talking about Source and God and our highest self resides up with the angels. Our highest self resides up in that like 10, 11, 12D space where the waves, the wavelengths are higher and they're fluctuating, they're oscillating, right? You can see more through them, it's less dense, right? So our highest self is operating up there at the top of the spiral all the time, and can send our consciousness to any point in the perceived reality spiral, and it is currently holding our consciousness, hovering it around this 3D, 4D level for the experience of this soul, this individual soul's fractals. So the soul is an individual fractal of your highest self. This life is an individual fractal of your soul's existence. In a nutshell, there's a lot more nuance to it than that, but when you are experiencing this life, it is a little tiny piece of what your soul is able to shine down into lived reality, and it is not all that your soul has ever shown down into physical reality. It is not all your soul will ever shine down into physical reality. It might not even be all your soul is currently shining down into physical reality. That's a story for another day. But basically, where your consciousness is at here in the 3D, 4D, 5D, you might not remember and be aware of and have access to all of the same information and awareness that you have when your consciousness is up here in the 12D. But like, it's still you still have access to it, it's still going on, it's still happening, it's still you, just where your consciousness is at right now as it's going through this lived body experience in this human tech that we've created for ourselves here. You're not actually aware of everything, but you're still you're still at that 12th dimension, projecting into this lower dimension. Okay, so the reason that I want to explain that is because no dimension is greater or more valuable than another dimension, or it wouldn't exist. Okay, the 1D where our thoughts reside is just as valuable to the shared lived reality experience that Source and God and your highest self is creating. It's just as valuable as the 2D where our cellular structure resides, right? Just as valuable as the 3D where our human body tech resides. Just as valuable as the 4D where our perception of time resides. It's just as valuable as the 5D, just as valuable as the 6D. All the dimensions are valuable in and of their own right. All of the dimensions and the experiences had in each dimension are valuable, or we would never send our consciousness there. Okay. So as we are moving into the 5th dimension, as we are starting to elevate our consciousness and become more aware of even higher dimensions, and as we see other people who are going through similar journeys, please remember that it does not matter where your consciousness is currently residing, at what dimension, it is equally valuable to the experience of everyone, including your individual fractal self, but also everyone. Also, those of us who are ascending into higher dimensions more quickly or in an advanced rate or before others are not better. We are just souls that have selected to play the role of leading the way. But people who are still operating strictly out of the third dimension are not less than, and their experience is not less than those of us that are operating out of higher dimensions. It's just a different experience that's occurring right now alongside ours. And angels actually want me to say this part, because I was like, oh, I don't need to say this next part, it's not really that important. But the angels really, really, really fucking want me to say this part, because they are your friends. They are like buddy with your highest self, okay? They are not just here to help support you, the lowly human. Like, no, they are like bros with your highest self, and they've signed up as your teammate to help you here as your consciousness is projected down here, okay? So the angels want you to know this, that those beings that vibrate up at that higher dimensions, the 12th dimension, like God, like angels, like gods and goddesses and deities, or whoever it is that you perceive in this journey, they're not better than you. They're currently hovering their consciousness at a higher vibratory state than you. But they exist where you exist. They come from where you come from. They are made out of the same thing that you are made of. You just don't remember that right now. You're not really aware of it right now where you're at in your current reality, in your current experience. And I was about ready to go on a different train of thought here and I lost it, so it must not be for right now. But yeah, like they're our friends, and anything they can do, you can do too, but they know that you might not necessarily be aware of that, and so they are here to help. You just have to ask, and they will help you with anything and everything, because it's not all about you, it's about them and everyone completing this experience, okay? So that's part 2, okay. Part three, okay, so there's 4 general groups of people that I want to talk about right now to be aware of. Now, this is really generalized, okay? Really, really generalized. So there are different nuances within these groups of people that I'm not going to talk about today. I get it. Don't come at me. There are groups of essences that I'm probably not going to really mention right here in this video. That's okay. Don't come at me. These are the 4 general groups that are relevant to address as it pertains to this conversation, and get the wheels turning, okay? Allow this to be kicked on over to your subconscious so you can start having your own downloads about this and start understanding more. But I'm well aware that I'm oversimplifying shit a lot, okay? Okay, so 4 general groups to be aware of at the moment and where you might be in these groups. Okay, so we've got like the higher entities that I just was talking about, right? Like we've got Source, we've got God, we've got angels, we've got gods and goddesses, we've got ascended masters, we've got these higher deities, spirit guides, your highest self, that group of, I wanted to say scallywags. I'm sure they would approve being called scallywags. Don't worry, God's got a great sense of humor. So that group of scallywags, they're your, I don't even know what that word means. I don't think it's good. So that group of friends, they operate at the higher dimensions, and they are helping to execute a greater plan, right? Like they're helping to execute a bigger plan that you are totally privy to as your highest self, and you can tune into that anytime you need to, anytime you want to. You just have to ask questions of your spirit team and of your highest self, or of Source, or of God, and you can tune into that plan, but you don't always really remember it as your human self. So they are here to do the majority of the work. And just so you know, this is something that was really helpful to me, that was hard for me to wrap my mind around, because I am someone who has experienced toxic independence in my life as a trauma response to things. And so it's been really hard for me to even accept human help here on in the earth realm, let alone accept the idea of accepting spiritual help in unseen dimensions, right? Trust me, it's been hard for your girl. So I get it, but the way that it was presented to me is, okay, so if you're familiar with tarot at all, picture the Chariot card, and if not, I'll describe it a little bit. So it's like a chariot. The Chariot card is all about delivering blessings. It can be about getting things done, taking action, accomplishing things, travel, going places, actually getting to where you're trying to go, right? And the Chariot card has a figure riding the chariot, and it's drawn by two horses, black and white. A lot of symbolism there, but we won't go into that. But basically, as the chariot driver, you are able to influence where the chariot goes. You are accountable, in a sense, for steering the chariot. And you have the ability to steer the chariot, but you're not alone. You're not going on the journey alone. You're not walking there by yourself. You're sure as shit not pulling the chariot on your back. You've got motherfucking horses. Black and white ones, I might add. But I won't go into the symbology there again. But you're not alone. So not only do you have a chariot carrying you, you have horses pulling you. You have guides that are protecting your chariot. You have a navigation. You have a navigator that can help in telling you where to go. You have command center in your ear, right? You do. Whether you're aware of it or not, whether you're tapped into it or not, you have access to all of these tools. You're not alone. And when you're executing things, the way that they want you to think about it is they really had to ingrain this. I'm getting hit in the head right now. This is how much they had to really get me to think about this, and really process this. And they want you to also, when you're doing the work that you're doing, when you're operating in the world, you need to be seeing yourself as 20% and let spirit do the 80%. Right? So you still take inspired action. You still have to have the desire. You still have to have the belief that it will happen. You still have to take action in this world, in the physical world, towards your desire to take inspired action based on what your intuition is telling you to do, based on what lights you up. But you are not responsible for 100% of making this dream a reality. You are responsible for 20%, and spirit is going to do 80%. Okay? And when I say spirit, I mean all of those people that I talked about, the scallywags, right? They want to band together with you. This is what they are here for. This is what y'all are trying to do, in a very simplified sense. So it's not all on you. You are responsible for 20%. 80% is going to be provided for you. Okay, so please go into everything that you do knowing that you have that level of support. So we've got that first group of folks. Second group of folks, we're going to be referring to humans now, humans on the earth plane that currently exist right now. Okay, so the other three groups are humans. So we've got the first group of humans, which includes myself and includes some other people that I'm aware of. If you're listening to this and you're still listening to this at 34 minutes in, you're a part of this group with me. You might not be aware of it yet. You might not believe me yet, but shortly, soon, you will be. It was 3434 on the timer when I say that. Soon you will be very hyper aware of this. There is a first wave of humans who are moving into what the experience that we call heaven on earth, which is the experience of Earth moving into more of a higher dimensional reality than we are used to it being in. So right now, when we were talking about the different dimensions, right? So physical lived reality, when we talk about life, when we talk about our physical life, when we talk about having a life, right? Like we think about it being in the 3D, in the 4D, because that's pretty much where it is right now. So the average person is experiencing physical lived reality. The normal is for that to be in 3D, 4D. Some of us have been experiencing life tapped in and tuned into higher dimensions, but the average person experiences the normal Earth life experience right now is the 3D, 4D. What's happening when we talk about this new Earth and this 5D Earth and what's happening with what's going on with Ascension right now, we're not talking about the physical, like the Earth isn't actually moving. People aren't actually moving physically, like geographically. We're not getting a new Earth as in like a second Earth. What's happening is the number of beings that are participating in the game of physical shared reality right now, the number of beings that are projecting down into this space of the 3D, 4D, and if you think about that spiral of dimensions that I was talking about, the number of participants that are projecting their consciousness down and hovering it around the 3D, 4D is dwindling, and the number of participants that are hovering their consciousness around the 5D, 6D is increasing. So what's happening is the shared experience of our physical lived reality is elevating itself to a different experience, and we're going to perceive things, because again, remember, angels who are perceiving themselves and other beings at the 12th dimension are going to look different than when they project themselves down into the 3D to present themselves to us, either as winged beings or galactic forces, right? They're going to be perceived differently in different dimensions. So our perception now, as we all start hovering our consciousness at the 5D, 6D instead of the 3D, 4D, our perception of what's going on in our physical lived reality is going to be different than what it has been for the last several thousand years of documented human history. Now, because of this ascension, what that means is that, of course, there are still going to be those of us who are on the fringe who still experience life at even higher dimensions, and that's our journey to play. But what will be happening is the number of souls that actually project their consciousness and hover their consciousness around that 3D, 4D is going to become so minuscule to non-existent, and then everybody's going to begin projecting their consciousness at that 5D, 6D, because that's just where we're at right now in the evolution of the species and the planet and all of this. So, like, the 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, it still exists, right? So if you think about it, like our experience right now in this physical 3D human body tech that we're used to, like, we still exist in the 1D. We still have our thoughts. We still use our thoughts. Some of us better than others, right? We still have access to, and we use, and we know the importance of our thoughts, and we still exist as our thoughts in the 1D. But we also exist in the 2D. We also have a cellular structure. We also have a subconscious process that is carried through our cells to formulate this amalgamation of like skin and flesh and bone and bioelectromagnetic field. And we are the 1D, we are the 2D, but then we are also the 3D when that body comes together and when we have that body. And as we move through time, the shared experience of time, we are the 4D. So the experience that we know, it's like, yeah, we are in the 3D, 4D, but we are still the 2D and the 1D also. We just don't really think about it as much. Like, we don't spend our day thinking about like all of our thoughts and all of our cells and all of our like electromagnetic frequencies. Like, some of us do think about it a lot, but most of us, the average person, doesn't. All right, so as we move into this 5D, 6D experience, the 3D and the 4D isn't going to cease to exist. You're still going to have your body. You're still going to have time. you're still going to have access to those things. You're still going to have access to your thoughts and the 1D. You're still going to have access to your cellular structure and your bioelectromagnetic field. You're still going to have access to your body. You're still going to have access to time. You're just not going to really be using it in the same way. You're not going to be thinking about it in the same way. You're not going to spend all day, every day thinking about your body and thinking about time, because while it is a part of you, like your thoughts and like your cells and like your electromagnetic field, your body and your time, space, like life that you experience it's part of your experience, but it's just a part of your experience, and you will still know that it behooves you to understand how those things work and understand like how to maximize your thoughts and your cellular structure and your body and your time, and understand how it works and understand how to operate and influence it and work with it. But it's not everything anymore. It's just a part of who you are now. I hope that makes sense. I'll fall asleep like I am. Okay. So the first group of people who are moving into this, what we call heaven on earth, it's not a new earth per se, it's just a different experience than what we're used to. It's an experience where we still have access to all of that stuff that I just talked about, but we also have access to more, which gives the impression, the perception of heaven on earth, because things like suffering, things like lower vibrational experiences no longer impact and influence us in the same way. And our perceptions and our experiences get to actually be much more influenced, much more directed, much more pleasurable, and much more sustainable and rapidly achievable, because we are actually influencing our experience in much greater ways, because we have the tech of our thoughts, the tech of our cellular structure, the tech of our body, the tech of time, and more that we're not used to having right now, right? And so it gives the illusion of heaven on earth, which is what everybody is referring to, right? So it's not about ascending up and out of our bodies and ascending up and out of the physical and ditching our bodies and ditching this physical lived reality experience. It's about pulling these higher dimensions down into where our consciousness is currently hovering, and kind of bumping up where our consciousness is hovering, so that way we're just experiencing things differently than we have before. And by we, I mean like as a collective, as everyone, but also as individuals. And so what's in the past of documented historical history, what we've noticed is a lot of times people go through spiritual awakenings all throughout their life, and they go through a pretty big one. Like there's like a pretty big chunk, like a 7-year spiritual awakening that a lot of people go through from like age 35 to 42. Some people are earlier, some people are later, some people are born with access to higher consciousness and they go through this awakening at a much earlier age. Some people don't even really need to go through awakenings because they're just born kind of like awake. And they remember and they have access to higher dimensions. So everybody's journey is different, but on average, what most people have experienced thus far in recent documented human history, like I'm talking like the last 6,000 years, people have experienced spiritual awakenings taking a length of time, taking about 7 years, happening in sprinkles, happening in pockets, happening all throughout the life, and then like a big one, like a grand reveal one that actually bumps people up into enlightenment later in life, or maybe like a few bigger ones, and then it's like later in life towards retirement, all of a sudden people are like, oh, I understand the meaning of life, right? Like it's taken people lifetimes, it's taken people a long time to dig themselves out of any conditioned and reactive programming and understand what it is that's really going on in the shared living reality experience. So that's essentially what we mean when we talk about spiritual awakening. Spiritual is all things are connected, right? All things oneness. And how are things connected? So when you have a spiritual awakening, it's really just you having a greater understanding of how things are connected, how things are working, what is really actually going on underneath any illusion. right? So we have these all throughout our life, even from when we were really young, when we're kids. We have these little spiritual awakenings, 4444 on the timer as I say that. But we have like a big one. We have like a grand reveal usually later in life, or some of us don't. Some people go their whole existence, they live and they die, and they don't ever wake up, right? So everybody's experience is different. But the people who are moving into this first wave of humans who are moving into the heaven on earth experience this year, I forgot to mention that's this year in 2025. That's happening right now. You're already entering into it. This first wave of humans is entering into heaven on earth experience in 2025, because we are the first group that are going to be experiencing it and showcasing what it looks like for the rest of the world. And this group of people has already gone through their spiritual awakenings. They've already gone through whatever it looks like, whether it was little ones, whether they were born this way, whether they've gone through the big grand reveal, like they've already, like, I'm not saying you've got everything figured out and you're perfect. You're still learning things every day, still finding new things out every day, still processing shit every day. But you are one of the first people who is experiencing this heaven on earth experience. You are someone who is going through, if not has already gone through your grand reveal, spiritual awakening, or that's what you're going through right now, if you are still watching this, if you are paying attention to this right now. So, which more and more and more and more people will come across this video in time, or maybe I'll do it again one day, we'll see. But the second group of people is actually people who are going to be moving into this experience next. This is the group of people that we are basically we're trying to shine an example for. This is the group of people that need to come out the other side and see an example, see actually examples of what heaven on earth is supposed to look like. Because the second group of people, it's the third group that I've talked about, the second group of humans is actually, they're in for a ride. So this first group of people, the first group that's going to be experiencing heaven on earth, like, we went through some shit. We're the generational curse breakers. We're the new generational cycle starters for our lineages. And so we had to go through some shit. We had to go through lots and lots of suffering, lots and lots of pain, lots and lots of healing, because we weren't just healing our own trauma, our own karmic cycles. We were actually healing everything in our lineage, which means everything for everyone who's come before us and everything that was going to come for everyone in our lineage after us. We actually took on and healed and broke those cycles, and we're here and we're responsible for starting new cycles in this heaven on earth experience. The karma that existed on earth can't come with us. It's not coming with us. And so we had to feel that in order to break it, in order to process it, in order to heal it, in order to clear it. We had to feel it. And we felt generations and generations. I'm talking thousands of ancestors worth of karma. Like, we felt and we're processing. And so what happened is, to go through our spiritual awakening, or awakenings that took years and years to go through and heal and process through and, like, wrap our minds around, we had to clear all this rubble and clear the way. And basically what we did is we not only cleared the rubble and cleared the dirt and cleared the way, but we, like, literally created this architectural framework for everyone else. Like, we created runways, we created roads, we created bridges, we created, like, guardrails, we painted the lines on the road, we created street signs, we created fucking communities along the way with, like, fucking rest stops and gas stations. We created the automobiles for the people to fucking get in and drive down the spiritual awakening roadway, right? No, fuck that. We didn't just create the cars. We created the cars, and we created manuals for how to drive the cars, and we created driving school to teach people how to drive the cars, so that way they could be well prepared. We came up with little tests and checks and balances to make sure people are ready as they go along the way. We hired we came up with defensive driving courses in case people get stuck along the way. Fuck that. You don't even have to learn how to drive if you don't want to. We created Uber, we created taxis, we created trains for people who just want to ride their way and have someone else take them through the spiritual awakening roadway. Like, we created so much architectural runway and tools and resources and guidance and guardrails and systems for this ascension process, that the next group of humans that's going to be moving through this are not going to be suffering. They're not going to be struggling. So the reason why the new earth is able to exist without any of the karma of the old world is because we didn't just fucking clear that shit. We cleared that shit and we started new cycles. We broke our lineages, generational curses and generational cycles. We healed them, and then we started up new generational cycles for the lineages for years and generations to come, okay? And time all happens at once. Time is an illusion. Time happens all at once. So when you heal something in this moment, you heal something in all moments that previously happened and all moments that were going to happen, or will happen, or could happen, or might happen, or did happen, or are happening, however you want to look at it. So we created this experience, this airport experience, this Uber experience, right, for these new people who are going to be moving into their heaven on earth after us, right? So first of all, we're moving through this first because someone had to clear the way, someone had to heal, someone had to create the new cycles for the new earth. We did that. And now we get to live in 2025. We actually get to collect our reward. We actually get to experience our heaven on earth. So that way in 2026, these other people can actually move into the heaven on earth experience with examples in place. We're going to be writing the script as we go along. We're going to be creating it. So that way when they get to the other side of this runway, when they actually get to the experience of heaven on earth, this new earth, this 5D earth experience, they're going to have all of these examples of what it looks like to actually be in divine union. What does it look like to actually be in your true essence and authentic, like, life experience? What does it look like to have a heaven on earth where things come to you when you need them, how you need them? What does it look like to not have conflict, to not have suffering, to not have pain? What does it look like to be able to learn lessons in life without the suffering, right? Without having to find that silver lining. Like, we are going to be the example for them. So that way, not only do they have the runway to get there very easily, they also have a blueprint for exactly what to do and how to begin embodying this experience, because it's going to be a little bit unsettling for them, right? They are used to coming from this dense 3D world experience. And mind you, these people haven't gone through their spiritual awakenings yet. So they haven't had all these years and all this time to learn how to wrap their mind around it and digest it. So they need the runway for it to be easy for them, and they need the examples on the other side to know the blueprint of what to look for and how to build this life and how to live this life and how to create this life, because they're not used to fucking heaven on earth. They're used to shit, right? Which is why in 2025 we get to collect. It's why in 2025, those of us that have done the work, you do deserve heaven on earth. You receive. You deserve this, not only because of the work that you've done, but because they need you as an example. They need you to be in your peace in 2026, because I don't know if you've realized it yet or not, but I mentioned this several times now. These people have not gone through their spiritual awakenings yet. These people will be joining us in heaven on earth in 2026. That's 1 year. 1 year for massive amounts of people who have not had spiritual awakenings yet to have spiritual awakenings to the depth of which they will be ready to live in heaven on earth, which means that things that used to take lifetimes to uncover, things that used to, awakenings that used to sometimes not even happen in a person's entire life. Sometimes people will live and die and never awaken, right? Sometimes it would take people years and decades. Sometimes 7 years is the average for the grand reveal, the biggest spiritual awakening that most people have from ages 35 to 42. This grand reveal awakening usually takes 7 years to fully culminate. These people have 1 year. I'm calling this spontaneous self-awakenings, spontaneous spiritual awakenings. People during this year of 2025, as we are generating and we're collecting our heaven on earth and we're putting together our heaven on earth, starting in 2026, people are going to start having spontaneous spiritual awakenings, which means one day they will be in the 3D, unaware, and then the next day they will find themselves in the 5D, completely aware. Spontaneous spiritual awakenings. They are not going to be going through this lifetime, decades worth journey of trying to uncover the truth. They are not going to be going down the rabbit hole for 7 years while their life falls apart and they rebuild. Spontaneous spiritual awakenings is what's about to happen in 2026. They're gonna need the blueprint of what the fuck heaven on earth is supposed to look like, because they're gonna be completely discombobulated. They're going to get there spontaneously because of the runway we built, because of the damage that we cleared, the rubble we cleared, the runway we built, the roads we built, the guides we built, the guardrails we built, the Ubers we built, the trains we built. Like, that's why they're having spontaneous spiritual awakenings. It's the work we've done. But then they also need us to have the blueprint for them, which is why we're getting our heaven on earth this year in 2025, so that way we can be ready to be the example for them in 2026. But just so y'all know, how I started this video talking about how, like, if you're feeling called to share your truth and share your perspective and talk to the world about what it is you're experiencing, like, it's not gonna fucking leave you alone until you do it, because in 2026, these people are all gonna wake the fuck up in mass, and they're going to need something to turn to. They're going to need your video content to be able to find and seek out and wrap their mind around. They're going to need your YouTube channel to dive deep down into and understand and make sense of what's going on. They're going to need you to be on TV or to be on the internet, on their social media. Like, they're going to need you to be publicly showing what your life looks like, so that way they know what to step into. So that's the third group. And then the fourth group of people was the hardest for me to wrap my mind around, was the hardest for me to wrap my heart around. The fourth group of people, so let's talk about for a second here, like, every group is very brave in and of itself, right? If you are one of the groups in the higher dimensional, higher vibrational beings that are not actually projecting your consciousness down into physical reality, but you are spending your day in, day out helping to build this new physical reality, this ascension experience, you're fucking amazing. You're fucking brave. Yes, I'm talking to angels and ascended masters and spirit guides right now. Yes, I'm talking to God right now. You're fucking brave. You're fucking courageous. You're fucking amazing. We fucking love you. We're so grateful for you. You were so valuable and you were so brave. If you are part of the group of humans that is projecting your consciousness down, and you have gone through the generational cycle breaking curses, and you have gone through creating these new cycles for people so that they can spontaneously awaken, if you are somebody who's gone through the work, decades worth of work, if you're somebody who went through the 7-year period of your life falling apart, and you completely unraveling to the mysteries of the universe, only to be here and be realizing that you are now needing to lead the world as they go through this as well. If you are somebody that is activating heaven on earth, if you are somebody that is moving into the 5D right now and you are paving the way, you're fucking brave. You're fucking courageous. You're so fucking brave. Your soul choosing this mission, it did it on purpose, for the record. You were chosen for this mission because you're capable of it, and you chose this mission because you knew you could do it, and you knew that you would get something really great out of it, and you're also fucking really brave. You're really brave, and you're really courageous, and you're really amazing, and you're really valuable, and we're really grateful to have you. If you are one of the humans, like, so chances are, if you're watching this video still, you're part of that group. If you're one of the humans that hasn't gone through your spiritual awakening yet, you probably aren't watching this video now at the time of its recording, but you may find this video in 2026 or 2027 or sometime after it, right? You might find this video and it might help make sense of things that happened to you over the past year or so. You're really fucking brave. Like, the souls that are in that group of people who are going to go through spontaneous awakenings, the souls that signed up to stay in this shit and have no idea what's going on and fight and suffer and bleed and bruise and, like, stay in the shit and have no idea what's going on, and then all of a sudden wake up in a spontaneous awakening, and all of a sudden you go from shit all around you to, like, all you can see is heaven on earth, and you have no idea what happened and how you got here. That's crazy. That's a crazy experience, and you're really fucking brave and really fucking valuable, and we're really fucking proud of you, and you're really fucking courageous, and that's a really incredible journey to choose to go through, and really necessary. Like, not only did we need the people to lead the way, and not only did we need the souls to guide from the spirit world, we need the people to come along after the runway was built. We need the people to come along and spontaneously awaken, and we need to, like, have that experience for the folks that went ahead to be able to lead and help them recalibrate. fucking brave. And this last group of people is currently being seen as the lowest of the lows. This last group of souls is currently being seen as the least capable group of souls on human, like in the human experience on Earth. And I vehemently disagree with this perception, because I think this last group of people is just as fucking brave and just as fucking courageous, and this last group of people are gonna see this message. They're never gonna see this fucking message, because they're not awakening in this lifetime. So they're gonna see this message from spirit world. They're gonna see this message in their dreams, maybe, and they're gonna think of it as like just a dream, just a fiction, right? They're gonna see this reality maybe in another life. They'll see a vision of this video, but they're never gonna see this fucking video. Okay, but they're just as brave. Their souls are so fucking brave and so fucking courageous. They might actually be really fucking brave and courageous in ways that we don't even understand. But basically, this is the group of people that it was the hardest for me to wrap my human heart around accepting. But like their souls know what they're doing, okay? Their souls are chosen for this role because this role needed to be played. This role needed to be filled. There needed to be players in the game that filled this role. And their souls chose to take on that role because their soul found value in that experience. They are learning something, they are going through something that they find valuable. So we cannot discredit, we cannot invalidate their experience just because it doesn't seem like what we would choose. It's not what we chose. It's not what we would choose because it's not what we chose. But it is very valuable, and it is very brave to be going through what they're going through now. I'm not saying that it excuses some of their behavior, because some of these souls, so there's two subsets of this group, right? So there's a group of individuals that are not going to be awakening in this lifetime. They're not going to be joining us in heaven on earth. They're going to be completing their lived reality experience. However that completion occurs, whether it's naturally, however their highest self determines, they're going to complete that life cycle. They're going to be completing that life cycle in the physical 3D, 4D, dense matter experience. They're not going to be awakening in this life. They're not going to be joining us in the heaven on earth experience in this life. They are going to be completing their life cycle without awakening and without joining us. Now, there are various reasons that they could have chosen to do this. And there are two, I think, like I mentioned, there's two subsets of souls. So there are souls that are currently existing in like victimized states that are not going to be able to break free and experience heaven on earth in this lifetime. And there are souls that are currently experiencing or more predatory type an experience, where they are more their actions, their behavior, their thought processes, their experience, the karma that they're creating and living in, it's more of a predatory type nature, and they're stuck in that cycle, and they are not going to be awakening in this lifetime. Regardless of what group, what subset of soul they are, there are souls that are operating in a lower vibrational states that will not spontaneously awake. They will finish out their life cycle, however that happens for them. We could do a whole other video on the different possibilities there, but that's not for this conversation. They are going to finish out their life cycle and not awaken in this life, which seems really sad, right? It seems really sad on a surface, which is why I had such a hard, like the human in me had such a hard time with this group, because I don't want to leave anyone behind. Like, I know what I went through to get here. I know the suffering I had to clear. Like, I don't want to leave anyone there. However, it's not our choice, right? Our soul didn't choose that experience. Sorry, I just got full body chills. Our soul didn't choose that experience. Our soul chose the experience that we are moving through. Their soul did choose that experience. One, because having an experience of souls that don't move forward into heaven on earth, having an experience of souls that don't spontaneously awaken or gradually awaken, that don't join us, is something that is valuable to the higher mission, the higher goal, the higher vision, the higher story, the higher thing that's playing out. Having souls play that role is important in some way, even if we can't necessarily wrap our human brains around it at this moment. It is important to the greater good, and so somebody needed to play those roles, and these souls they signed up. They knew what they were doing, and they signed up, and it is brave, and it is courageous, and it is needed, and it is valuable, and it is appreciated. And what I'm being shown, what I'm being told, is that the majority of these souls that are choosing not to awaken and join us in heaven on earth in this lifetime are going to go back into spirit, and they'll continue their work, and they'll continue to learn their lessons, and they'll continue to work through their journey, which, by the way, is not a cop-out. It's actually much easier to do your spiritual work in physical lived reality. It's actually much easier to clear karmic patterns and break free of lessons and patterns, and to do work and to learn lessons and to ascend in this physical lived reality than it is in the spiritual realms. So souls that are choosing to do their work in the spiritual realms, they're not getting off easy. Like, people who don't do the work here and for whatever reason, whether it's by choice or it's just they run out of time or whatever, like you can still do the work in the spirit realms. It's not easier, it's much harder, okay? So again, these souls are very brave. So they are choosing, rather than to learn their lessons and have their awakening here on earth, they're going to finish out their cycle, their life cycle. They are going to do their work in spirit realms, because this is the experience their soul chose, right? So we can't invalidate how valuable this experience is for them as individuals and for the collective, the greater good. Okay, so they are choosing the experience of doing their work, their soul work in the spirit realms, which is harder for the soul than doing it in physical lived reality. And then what's going to happen is they're going to do their work in spirit, and then when they're ready, if they choose to incarnate in physical lived reality again, and if they choose for that incarnation to be on earth, when they come back after doing that spirit work, they're going to be born back into a world that already exists in the new earth, a world that already exists in the 5D, a world that already exists as heaven on earth. They're going to come back into a world where there is no karma, because that's what we're doing when we're building heaven on earth, right? Like, this transition, this ascension that we're moving into a world with a clean slate. Karma still exists in the sense that, like, the system still exists because it's a law of the universe. It's called the law of compensation. So it is very real. It's not like a spiritual woo-woo concept that got created. No, it's a law of the universe. It's called the law of compensation. What you put out will come back to you. What you withhold will be withheld from you. It's just how the universe fucking works. So, like, the concept of karma will always be there, but we will be at a clean slate, and we will all be operating at a level of awareness that the way that we operate in the universe, there will be no negative karma. There will be no, like, continual cycles of shit, because we're experiencing karma, and then we're not healed, and so we're creating more karma, and then we're creating more karma, and then we're creating more karma, and we're reflecting karma, and we're clearing all that, we're healing all of that. It's a clean slate, and so the law of compensation will still be in effect, but what is being put out there is welcomed and received, right? Things are not being withheld, therefore things are not being withheld from you, right? Like, it's a clean slate. And the players understand the system much better now. So what happened previously to initiate all of what we call bad karma and the domino effect that we had to go through and clear is not likely to happen again. Never say never, but it's not likely to happen again. We've done the work to not only heal what happened and rectify and get things back to their standard operating, we've done it in such a way that the healing, the recalibration, leveling out, the balancing, the harmonious resonance should be quite sustainable. So this last group of individuals that are choosing not to join us in heaven on earth in this lifetime, when they do their spiritual work, because they still have individual personal karma, right? Like whether they are somebody who's stuck in victimhood and they end their current life cycle in that way, or whether there's somebody who's stuck in like a predatory type mentality and they end their life cycle in that mindset, like they've got karma, they've got individual karma to work through. So they've got lessons that they will still work through in the spirit world, but then when they go through those lessons and they're ready, they will be able to be born back down into a physical lived reality experience where the slate is clean. There is no karma. There are no karmic cycles. There are no lineage cycles to be born into. There are no generational curses to be born into, and they will have done the spirit work to heal themselves. So they're going to be a clean slate soul born into a clean slate physical lived reality, which is a totally different experience than those of us that are awakening in this life and experiencing heaven on earth are going through. And it's a totally different experience than somebody who's spontaneously awakening in this life and then living in heaven on earth. Well, it's a totally different experience to be a soul that clears your karma in the spirit world and then gets born with a clean slate into an environment that has a clean slate. It's just a totally different experience. And so while it may seem like a lesser experience to us who are currently, oh my god, it was 11111 on the timer as I said that. And it might seem like a lesser experience to those of us who are awakening. It's not. It's just a different experience. Okay, when you think about people from the sense of their highest self, when you think about what it is that they're choosing to go through, it doesn't excuse any of the actions that their human self might be taking right now by any means. But it doesn't invalidate the experience that they chose. Okay, so that's a fucking lot, a lot of shit. Okay, so the last part of the video, what's coming next? We're at, oh my god, we're at an hour and 11 minutes. What's coming next? Okay, so I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit all throughout, but just to summarize, what's coming next? 2025, the group of people who are watching this video, full body chills. 2025, heaven on earth is being established. Okay, the group of individuals who have gone through their spiritual awakening and are who have done the work, the generational curse breakers, the ones that have fought tooth and nail to heal, are being given the keys to the gates of heaven, essentially. Like, things are just going to start happening for you. Opportunities for your health, opportunities for your finances, your career, your purpose, your passion, your love life, your friendships, your family, your, like, everything is just going to start to fall into place in all areas of your life. It's like I'm seeing like the fountain of youth, but it's not just like for your health and your longevity. Like, it is, do you remember how I said when you're operating out of the fifth and sixth dimension, you're operating out of these higher dimensions, you still have access to your thoughts, your cells, your body, you still have access to time, you still have access to all of these tools, all of this technology, but you experience more different things more differently. You're going to start experiencing instantaneous manifestations. You're going to start experiencing spontaneous blessings because you have 1 year. You have 1 year for the universe to deliver all of your blessings to you, because in 2026, we're going to start seeing the spontaneous awakenings of the people who are ready to come join us in heaven on earth. And so we need to have our heaven on earth, right? And there's nothing you need to do. There's nothing you need to go out and work for and get. You are somebody who's done the work already. It is now time for you to get paid to exist as the presence that you are, the presence that you came here to be, the presence that you have now embodied as your highest self. That is what we mean when we say get paid to exist. It's not about you sitting on Netflix and just chilling, sitting on the couch, sitting on Netflix, sitting on the couch watching Netflix and chilling. I think we need to buy some stock in Netflix is what's happening here. Sitting on Netflix, standing on business. It's not about sitting on the couch and just watching Netflix and chilling, right? It's not about being paid to exist by doing nothing. It's about getting paid to exist because you are authentically you. You are being the authentic version of your highest self that you came here to be, clear of conditioned and reactive programming. Like, you are just your natural light in the world, which is what this world needs in order to enter heaven on earth, in order to be an example for the people who will be spontaneously awakening, in order to maintain the new blueprint for the folks that will not be joining us in this life, but will be doing their work in spirit, so that way they can join us as their new souls when they're ready. Like, you are the leader. You are the one. You are a chosen one. So your heaven on earth is coming in 2025. You don't have to do anything except just be open to receive. Keep yourself as open as you can be to receive. 2026, we're going to start seeing spontaneous spiritual awakening. So brace yourself for that. You don't have to do anything except know that you're going to be called to help these people in whatever way feels right to you. However it feels right to you. Doesn't matter. Whatever feels right. You want to create something, create something. You want to just be there for them, just be there for them. You want to create services or products or businesses that can help these people, do it. You want to just create communities where they can come and experience heaven on earth, do it. However you want to, however you feel called to be, just be. That's all you're being asked to do. And then you're going to be asked to maintain that high level vibration even amongst the scenarios and situations that you see playing out around you with the souls that are not choosing to awaken in this lifetime. Maintaining the high vibration even when you see souls who are ending their current life cycle in one way or another because they've chosen that their path is actually to be reborn into heaven on earth once we are finished recalibrating everything and just, having that higher perspective, higher level of awareness, and maintaining a high vibration even when you see that begin to play out around us. So not an easy task by any means, but it is going to be very, very beautiful, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. This next year is going to go by like shoo, which I think is why I got told that I had to make this video. So 1 hour and 16 minutes. If you stayed through this whole thing, God fucking bless your soul. Of course you deserve your blessings. Of course you deserve heaven on earth. You're fucking ready. You don't have to do anything to prepare. You don't have to do anything at all. You just have to keep being you and try to get your nervous system into a place where you realize and are comfortable with receiving things that don't seem to make sense. Receiving blessings that don't seem to, you can't quite figure out where they came from or why they're being given to you. It's because you deserve them, and it's time you start acting like it. All right, that is it for today. Follow for more shit that you didn't know you needed to know. Fucking love you so much. Bye for now.